Okay, so the slides I'm showing you today are meant to give you a quick synopsis of what information sources and services comprise, also known as reference, which is kind of the general term we are all familiar with. Okay, so what do librarians providing reference do? You'll see that I capitalize the words users, patrons, and customers. And basically, these words are interchangeable, and different libraries or researchers will use different words. But my point in doing that is that no matter who they are, we work for them, all of them, everyone. So, library services, including reference services, are designed and carried out with the needs of our users being paramount. So, this means that we need to consider who our users are, and they will be different depending on what library we work for. It can be an academic research institution. It can be a 4-year teaching institution. It could be a public library serving people of all socioeconomic statuses as well as ethnicities, ages, religions, abilities, languages, etc. It can be a law library serving attorneys and or the public, a medical library serving only doctors, only patients, or doctors and patients. So basically, depending on who our population is, we tailor our information sources to them. So, who is your community? Why are you serving them? What are the policies of your library in relation to the needs of your users? What are both the collection policies and the reference policies? If we don't have appropriate sources, we refer people to other organizations, or we can use services like interlibrary loan. And then last, we continually evaluate and assess how well our sources and services are working for our population. And these are all things that we will be talking about for the entire semester. Okay, so how do librarians providing reference service do what they do? Well, we engage with our constituents to understand what their needs are. If you're at a university, those needs will be very different than if you are at a public library in a distressed area, for example. Part of the job is to collect, arrange, and provide resources and services that meet users' needs. This includes things like making bibliographies, arranging book talks, providing displays, making tutorials, and again, these are all based on your users' needs. What characteristics and skills are needed to provide reference? First, you should be approachable. For instance, if you're at the reference desk, you don't want people to be afraid to ask you questions. You should be interested in people's information problems and be a good listener. You also need to have critical thinking skills, not only to be able to analyze both your users and their needs, but how your library resources and services are meeting those needs. And this includes the knowledge to carry out activities and research that give you this information. What do librarians providing reference need to know? First of all, the structure and organization of information resources, basic information tools, which means knowing your online interface, knowing your catalogs, how to search through different databases, knowing resources such as websites, journals, and monographs. You also need a level of understanding of communication principles, how to interact with people. And last, you will need to follow a variety of ethical guidelines. So, how do we find out what's new? One of the most obvious is through conferences and collaboration, and these can be national, international, or local. Through professional associations. First, there's RUSA, which is an organization that supports the delivery of general library services and materials and the provision of reference and information services, collection development, readers advisory, and resource sharing for all ages in every type of library. And I've given websites for these various organizations. Another organization is ACRL, which is a professional organization of academic librarians dedicated to enhancing the ability of academic library and information professionals to serve the information needs of the higher education community and to improve learning, teaching, and research. And that's not to be confused with ARL, which is the Association of Research Libraries, and unlike the other two, is not a part of ALA. It's actually a nonprofit organization made up of around 128 university libraries. Libraries are invited to participate, and invitations are basically based on the size of the libraries and the level of research and research collections. And ARL is primarily involved in public policy and scholarly communication activities. And I missed this one. There's also the Public Library Association and the AASL, which are both part of ALA, and I think the names are pretty self explanatory. There's OLA, the Oklahoma Library Association, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. As far as I know, all states have a library association, and it's extremely useful to get involved, know what's going on in your state, and having the networking opportunities. And then there's also an organization called ASIST, the Association for Information Science and Technology. I don't know how familiar you might be with ASIST, but if you end up in a research library, especially where there is an iSchool or an information school, you'll definitely need to know about ASIST. It's an international organization that, while encompassing what we generally think of as LIS, it also includes HCI, human computer interaction, communications, computer science, and anything related to technology. And a lot of these subdisciplines are also considered to be part of library and information science. Okay, so let's look at journals. Another way to monitor reference librarianship is through journals. And here's a list to be aware of if you're not already. The first three are primarily engaged with reference. The fourth, the Journal of Academic Librarianship, has a wide variety of articles, and including reference, and the others have various articles that may or may not specifically be related to reference, but could be of great interest to you. Another place to learn more is through listservs. If you go to the ALA website, you'll see a long list of listservs that might be appropriate to whatever work you're doing. And there are, of course, listservs specifically for certain types of reference. One listserv that I monitor is called InfoLit, which is about information literacy, and that is certainly a topic that is of great interest to people doing reference. I also just want to point out the main databases in our field. Um, and these are where the main LIS journals would be found. And then last, I've posted a list of job descriptions in Canvas of various jobs with reference either as a main component or a partial component to give you an idea of what sorts of things are out there. And I've also opened up a discussion area in week 1 for you to comment on anything you see that seems interesting, puzzling, illuminating, or just for questions. And I look forward to reading your thoughts. And that's it for now.